It all began with Stan Davis, a young man who had determination and hard work on his mind and was driven to become a success. He was an eager young man, just graduated from high school. Stan needed a good steady job that paid good money. Stan started his career in life in the dairy business in St. Peter, Minnesota in 1943. He bought the St. Peter Creamery with his partner, Harvey Parsons. The creamery that Stan bought in St. Peter was close to home and brought in a good salary of $40 a month to his family. Butter was in high demand in Shanghai, China, and this provided steady work. Stan was a busy man keeping up with the demand. According to Stan, it was hard work, but better than no work. Everybody else would be laid off, and the creameries got to operate. It was good work, it paid good wages, and I look back now and it was a wise decision. Encouraged by his teacher, Harvey Parsons, Stan enrolled into the dairy school at University of Minnesota. Stan states that in 2 months I was there. They took us through everything in the normal run of the creamery and dairy work. We even fed cows, he recalls. From the small creamery in St. Peter to the partnership with Kraft Cheese and many more leading companies, Davisco grew into a worldwide company. The dairy business changed with a blink of an eye with Americans entering World War II. The government needed skim milk to ship overseas for the soldiers. The Davisco company has made such an impact on the dairy industry because they were the first dairy company to deliver to the families in the St. Peter area.
Okay, why did you go into the dairy business?
My dad owned 2 can trucks, and at about age 17, I started relief for him on weekends. So I've probably been messing around with the dairy industry for the last 45 or 50 years.
Has anything changed since you were in the dairy business?
Well, like I said, I was a can hauler part-time, and I went from there to bulk, and from small bulk trucks to semis picking up milk because the farmers have gotten bigger. So yeah, I've seen a lot of changes in the dairy industry.
Have you seen the industry change over time?
Dairy plants have gotten bigger. I've switched from butter and powder processing plants to cheese processing plants, and several different kinds of cheese processing plants.
How did you know the Davises?
Oh, from conventions. I probably knew Stan the best, and his grandpa Mark probably about the same.
Okay. What was your part in the dairy business?
Oh, I did it all. I was a can hauler and a bulk hauler and a fieldman and an area supervisor and a plant manager. So I've been in almost every department.
My job is managing the R&D and applications of our whey protein ingredients for Davisco Foods, and managing our Davis family dairies, dairy farms.
Where are they generally from?
Really all over the world. We have Canada, England, Latin America, and we've even had an employee from Japan.
How much milk is produced at each farm?
About 170,000 pounds per day at each one. Usually 6 tanker loads, so about 36 to 40,000 gallons a day. Yes, and the milk we produce at our 2 dairy farms makes about 45,000 pounds of cheese each day.
I am the chairman of the board of directors. The background is that your great-grandfather needed a job, so he went to work in a creamery in Northland, Minnesota, and learned to be a butter maker.
How many employees did you have starting out in the creamery?
4.
4?
Yeah.
Okay, and now what are the employees' numbers?
Oh, 750.
What was the reaction of on the community as the business grew?
Buying property around us and adding buildings, but other than the city government that we had to deal with.
What did Davisco change in the dairy industry?
What did we change?
Yeah.
As the business grew and we processed more milk, we looked for different products to make out of milk. And we probably were one of the first to take the protein out of cheese whey, and that has started a large growing business in health foods, foods for people that exercise a lot, and for nutritional purposes.
Who does Davisco partner and or sell to?
One of our largest customers is Kraft Foods, but we also sell to General Mills, Nestle, Dannon, and any number of smaller health food companies.
How many milk producers are in the area?
There's very few milk producers in the area, and in LeSueur we have to drive many miles to get enough milk to run the factory, because Minnesota's milk production and the number of farmers is declining and has been for
Stan lived
40
in
years.
Texas working as a buttermaker, and a few years later, Stan and his family returned to Minnesota looking for a job. When he heard the St. Peter Creamery was for sale, he couldn't pass up an opportunity like that. So along with his mentor and his friend Harvey Parsons, they bought the creamery and began their business. Harvey later sold his share to Eli Grand and went to start an ice cream business. Eli also left and went into the egg business. That's when Stan's oldest son, Mark Davis, began to work for the business when he was just 14 years old, and later turned it into Davisco. Officially, it was born when Stan's son, Mark, took over the business in the 1980s.
In response to World War II, Stan Davis started a small dairy company, Davisco, the first factory located in St. Peter, Minnesota. The reaction of Davisco was positive because the company began supplying jobs when jobs were hard to find. Very little people got a job in the dairy industry because people didn't want to work in the factory 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Once the war was over, all the soldiers came back needing jobs. The people that got the jobs in the dairy industry got high-demand paychecks. Davisco had a delivery system which made the towns and cities change because they changed the way LeSueur got their dairy products locally.
The people of St. Peter and LeSueur had a great reaction to the growth of Davisco Foods. As Davisco grew, it gave more and more people good jobs close to home. People who needed a job close to home came to the plant to get a job. There are about 750 people that now work at the plant in LeSueur, Minnesota. Originally, the creamery Stan started just had only 4 employees, in addition to Stan.
In the early days, Stan Davis and his son Mark picked up the milk from the farmers. Great relationships were formed with generations of dairy farms that are still selling their milk to Davisco Foods. Stan and his son Mark formed a partnership with Alan Cords and went into the cheese business.
In the 1980s, Mark Davis, Stan's son, took over the business and turned it into Davisco Foods International. Mark started finding bigger and better places to have plants and to sell the cheese. In the 1970s, Mark met with French cheesemaker Jean-Claude Bernoux to learn how to make French cheese, and another venture was born. Later in the years, in 1993, Mark found a company in Wales that made Bipro, and Mark wanted to start making it. They still make Bipro in the plants today and haven't changed a thing, which is a comment on the sustainability of a product. After all these new and exciting ventures in the 1990s, Davisco went worldwide. They put sales offices on both the east and west U.S. coasts and also in Mexico. By 2000, they also added sales offices in Geneva, Switzerland, and Shanghai, China. Davisco also has plants in LeSueur, Minnesota, Jerome, Idaho, and Lake Norden, South Dakota. Davisco Foods is a family-owned Minnesota business that is known worldwide for high-quality products and hard-working employees.